often do you find yourself saying, I'll do that one day? One day you'll have the time and money to travel. One day you'll start that business. One day you'll finally make time for yourself. But what if one day never comes? Kate Christie knows what it's like to have life shake you awake. After losing her children's father to cancer, she made a decision. Stop deferring joy and start living a life by design. So we're going to talk about how you can reclaim your time, set bold goals and design a life that fits you. That's today on Money and a Good Life. My name's Stephanie Coombs and I'm here with the co-host, my mate, and the money expert, Ryan Watson. G'day, Ryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm good. I think we're going to like this conversation.
I'm pretty excited about this conversation today. I must be. Yeah. I'm not sure we've had a guest that's more aligned with my good life than we have today.
Yeah, I agree because, again, we do talk about this a lot. We talk about the idea of not having your life on delay and making things work for you today. So I'm very excited that Kate is going to be joining us. She is the time management specialist and author and the creator of The Life List. Kate's helped thousands of people reclaim over 30 hours a month, I'd like that, and use that time to live more intentionally. Kate, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steph and Ryan.
Thanks, Kate.
Now, you've been on a mission for a while to live a better life and help people do the same, but this journey starts with a sad note. Your former partner had a tragic cancer diagnosis. What did that time teach you?
It was right as COVID started, and everyone had gone into lockdown in Melbourne and around the world, I guess. And he came over to share with us that he'd had this diagnosis. And so I guess there were multiple lessons going on at the time in terms of, the kids were homeschooling. There was this sort of global pandemic that was frightening at the time at the very start. And then there was this, very scary prognosis. And all of that in combination, it made me reevaluate. It was a time of reflection and forced reflection too. If you remember, we were all shut in our houses, literally.
Two stints of 120 days here in Victoria.
Yeah. And, you weren't allowed to leave your suburb. You had to go within a 5-kilometre radius. My daughter was on her L plates at the time and literally got her 120 hours in, a 5-minute radius. Yeah. But it was a time of incredibly deep reflection for me in terms of, how do I want to live my life differently once we get through all of this. And at the start of Dan's diagnosis, obviously we were hopeful that it was going to be okay, but obviously it wasn't.
Sounds like an extremely tumultuous time for you and your family.
It was horrific. It was, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Watching your children watch their father die is the most horrific experience I've ever had in my life. And I admire them so much for their strength and their resilience and the fact that they, get up and keep going on. I don't know how they do it, and it was horrible.
And also complex for you.
Very complex.
Yeah, how you're able to navigate that situation and what you can feel and shouldn't feel. That must have been really quite complicated.
It was really bizarre, actually, because we'd only been separated for about 2 years when he got the diagnosis, and we'd sort of got through our financial settlement and the ugly part of a separation, and we were reforming a new relationship where we were co-parenting and becoming friends. I mean, we'd been married for 22 years, and the end of a marriage doesn't define the totality of a marriage. We'd had a wonderful marriage, and so a lot of what I was going through was very complicated because people didn't know how to manage or deal with my grief, because I'd kind of already lost him. Mm-hmm. And people didn't really know how to address it, and so they sort of talked all about the kids and the kids' loss, which was fine, and obviously their loss was greater than mine in some respects. But people just didn't know how to manage my loss. And if I was upset about it, there was almost a level of confusion. And, what do you label yourself? I think we find comfort in labels a lot of the time. But, what was I? Was I a widow? Well, was I an ex-wife with a dead partner? I mean, there was no label there for me. And it was a horrible time.
So out of the back of this, obviously you've had this really tragic point for you and your family, and you were tracking along happily. Well, you're making friends with your partner, and suddenly everything as you knew it turned upside down. How did that affect your life view? What happened as a result of this?
So he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and within 11 months he passed away. So it was very fast. And he was diagnosed in about the May, and up until Christmas he just looked the same as he always had looked. So really the period of time between Christmas and April, the decline was just phenomenal. And, having lost him, my daughter was doing year 12. My sons one was wanting to drop out of uni because of his grief. And so I was literally just holding us together. It was that one day at a time, and there was trauma the whole time. So it was trying to deal with the kids' loss, and there were so many triggers. So many triggers. Like my daughter was working at a Baker's Delight, and she came home absolutely devastated one day because there was a man who came into the shop, and when she'd looked up out of the corner of her eyes, she just thought for that tiny split second that it was her dad.
Oh, that is so sad.
And it was happening every day.
Yeah,
and
awful.
So I can't even remember how we coped, to be honest. It was literally, let's just survive. And on top of that, she was doing year 12.
Yeah.
On top of that, we still had COVID. So it was pretty much a blur.
Yeah. And you were working as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there is a moment that you've spoken about in a boardroom, which was kind of a turning point. What happened?
That was pre all of this. That was when I left corporate world years ago, where I was working as a full-time executive. My kids were younger back in those days, obviously, and trying to be like a normal mum and a normal parent. I was going to drop my preppy at primary school, and I rocked up, and I'll never forget it, Steph. I had the beautiful black suit on and the high heels and the red lipstick, and I literally had snot from the corner of my suit all the way down my arm, because it was Cupcake Day, and I'd missed that memo, and my preppy was hysterical, and I sort of deposited him, had this disdainful looks of all the other parents, and, everyone's there with their bloody trays of cupcakes, and I had nothing.
Oh, God.
So we've all
Parents'
had it,
nightmare,
right?
Parents' nightmare.
Totally. It's when you're working full-time and the parents, the school says it's book character day. It's just like, what the hell? You make it easier for us guys.
Yeah.
So I drove to work, and I was so stressed, and I rang up my mum. And I said, look, it's Cupcake Day. Can you get down to the supermarket, buy some cupcakes, bash them up a bit, take them out of the plastic, take a bite.
Bash them up a bit.
Take them down, put some, flour on top. I don't care if there's nuts in them, Mum, they'll have an EpiPen. And I got to this first meeting of my day, and I walked into the boardroom, and I was late, and everyone around the boardroom table went quiet, and they looked at their watches, and then they looked at me, and it was just total silence. And then they just started talking. They just picked up from where they had been talking. And I just realised that I was the only member of the executive leadership team that didn't have a full-time stay-at-home wife. And that was sort of a really pivotal sliding door moment for me, where I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm not particularly being a very good executive. I certainly wasn't being a great mum. When I was with the kids, I was worried about work. When I was at work, I was thinking about the kids. There was one magnificent day where I just completely forgot to pick them up from school. I'm
the child of a parent who has, I think, forgotten to pick me up from school. I survived. My parents, didn't do the book week, and I remember a panicked, costume being dropped off for book week or something like that, and then They survive. They survive.
The children always resent being the parent that's like that's
the guilt.
The guilt.
Yeah.
I remember my kids saying to me that I was the only mum who didn't come to sports day, and it just ate away at me. So after this whole boardroom cupcake disaster,
that sounds a terrible day.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
After the cupcake debacle, I remember then deciding shortly after that I was going to resign from my big, beautiful job, because I was, wrecked with guilt. And it just so happened to be a couple of days before sports day, and I thought the timing of this could not be better. And my kids were in GEM, which was red, so I learnt the school song. I went and I got, dressed all in red. I made pom-poms. I thought, because I'm the only mum who doesn't go. Yeah. I got down there for sports day. It started at 10 a.m. I was the only one there. I was the only one there all day, and I'm like, where the hell are all the other parents? I'm red, I've got pom-poms. Yeah. And what I realised was school finished at 3:15. At 3 o'clock, all the other parents came down to watch the relays.
Ah, I see.
So I'd literally resigned from my big, magnificent job on the strength of this, you're the only mum who doesn't come to sports day.
And it was a 15-minute window.
15-minute window. Yeah. So I probably could have hung on to the role.
Little buggers.
I know. But that was their perception, right? Because they're looking around and all the other mums are there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
There was some key information. There was
like an 8-hour day that I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I made the most of that day, so that was good.
I bet you did.
I cheered everything, the beanbag throw and the frisbee discus.
I do love that story. That is extremely relatable. I'm sure anyone who's listening to this at some point or another has had this. Like, parental guilt seems to be the one absolute common thread through all parents. The one enduring thing for all my friends who are parents is this lingering sense that they're not doing enough. Yeah. I think is
particularly in the forgetting the pickup. I'm sure everyone has done that once.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I do. My parents kind of lived not too far from the school, so they would get the emergency phone call and dash down, but then you just feel so judged as well.
No, it's.
Not sure whether I should share this, Steph, but I'll go there.
Yeah,
so we had the one yesterday where we had rowing training early, and said child forgot school pants, so had to wear brown tracksuit pants all day, but we didn't save it. That was her journey. That was, you could feel guilt or going, I reckon in the past, years gone past, we might have. No, that was her journey. That was her journey yesterday.
Absolutely. When my eldest started high school, he went to private school, which was maybe like a 40-minute drive from the house, and I said to him, if you forget stuff, I'm not going to be able to bring it.
Yeah.
Primary school was around the corner. This is different. And, I didn't say you're an adult now because he clearly wasn't. But, you're grown up, or no, you're not even that. You're in high school. You have to cover for yourself. So the first week of school, he went to swimming carnival in his stuff and he forgot his school uniform. And to his credit, he didn't contact me. He went to the school uniform shop and explained to the ladies, I've forgotten my uniform and I'm not allowed to ring mum. And they said, and he's so cute, and they just said, here's a full school uniform, honey. You wear it, just don't take the tags off and get mum to put it in a bag and bring it back tomorrow. So I thought,
geez, he's good. I thought he rang it up. I thought he rang it up to your account.
He kept all the tags on, and I said, okay, honey, that like 10 points. That's like
exactly.
Nice work.
Get that kid into an office job.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he's now an entrepreneur.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. So you strike me obviously as someone who reflects on her own life a lot, and you take opportunities and you make changes that are a bit bold, and that's now something that you're taking to other people, right? And you've written a book called The Life List. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so look, this came about very much as a result of everything that had happened with Dan and his death. And my bread and butter, my strong skill set is I'm a time management specialist. I help people find time. And I write a column for CEO World magazine, which is a US publication, and it's all about productivity. Mm-hmm. And about sort of 6-7 months after Dan passed away, I was just sitting at the computer and I wrote this really heartfelt piece for CEO World magazine, which literally took me 10 minutes to write. And it was along the lines of, my husband's just died. Life is an absolute shit show. And I'm going to live it very differently from now on. So here's some resolutions I've made. And then I just dot pointed sort of 50 things. I'm going to love my kids even when they're shitting me. I'm going to eat more lollies. I'm going to swear more because I love swearing. I'm going to vacuum less. I'm going to travel to Italy. And it was this big list. And I shot it off to them and I thought they're not going to publish this because it's so far out of my remit for what I'm supposed to be doing for them. And within about 6 hours, it was on the front page of their magazine, and it went viral. And I had people from all around the world writing beautiful messages to me, very much along the lines of, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I love your life list, or I love this list. Can I do it as well? And from that, I just reflected that there's something in this. People are, and it was, again, remember, we're coming out of COVID. People wanted to live very differently. And I just kept playing with this idea that I don't want a bucket list anymore. A bucket list is a list of things I want to do before I die. And I don't want to wait that long. Life is too short, and I'd been brutally made aware of that. And so I want a list that's a life list of things I want to do while I'm still young enough to live them and love them. And so I am a very kind of linear process thinking person. So I thought I'm going to write a book about that, which shares frameworks to allow other people to have a life list rather than a bucket list. Here's how to do it. Here's how to write your life list. Here's the steps. Off you go.
Yeah.
And it's become a global bestseller.
And so what I'm hearing, you made the decision to change your mindset.
Yeah,
The
very
world
much.
around you didn't change.
Yeah.
It was a decision you'd had enough, and the only thing that could change was you.
Absolutely.
So you changed the way you choose to see things and act.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the same is with time and time management. When I'm talking to people about getting their time back, it's just a mindset shift.
Well, because I not pick you up on something you said, but a few minutes ago, Kate, you said find, not make more time. So it's about reallocation. There's only a finite 168 hours in a week.
Yeah.
I'm probably the same mindset as you are, but find more time.
Absolutely. It's all about that. I talk about time investment rather than time management. We can't manage time. We've all got exactly the same amount, and you can't buy it, steal it, rewind it, do it over. So you have to treat it the same way as you treat your money, as a very precious, limited resource that needs to be invested for the greatest possible return. So time investment, not time management. And when you wake up, it's got to be, where am I investing my time today? And when you find yourself with half an hour to spare, what am I going to invest this in? And it goes back to that concept of finding and investing.
It's so easy today as well to waste time. It's so easy to be sort of in this state of pacified, pleasure, I suppose.
scroll,
Yeah,
doom
doom
scroll.
scrolling, where you're not sort of paying attention to what's happening in the world around you, but you're not unhappy, but you're not happy either. You're just this sort of like weird fug of nothingness, oblivion, I think. And I think that phones have stolen, I think, a lot of time
Have you
from me.
looked lately, Steph, what's your average day, hours allocation on
I
your phone?
share a lot on this, but I choose not to share that. Yeah, because it really is that bad. So I'm
not going to let you hang. I'm there too.
Yeah.
I get it, I think, on a Monday morning.
yeah.
It's bad.
I'm responding to that by just turning that notification off. But so
Okay.
I've got to go.
Well, I think you need to have a chat with Kate.
Yeah, perhaps, but I know that's where it's going for me, and that is in terms of squandering your time. I can think of few worse ways to do it. So I'm going to have to join my next resolution is to join the dumb phone moment. I've got to I've got to.
Or
cut
you do
this
the
out.
thing like you do with teenagers, and there's just a cut-off time. You can do that on apps.
Yeah, you know what I find hard though. So
Sorry,
many
not to
people.
digress,
Yeah,
Kate,
sorry.
but-
So, yes.
No, not at all. But it's the mindlessness of it.
It is.
And so it's about bringing it back to being mindful as well. So
Yeah.
rather than sort of just turning the timer off, or it's about bringing awareness back to the fact that it's become a habit. So
Oh, yeah.
one of the easiest ways to do that is just to put a big, ugly rubber band a couple of times around your phone. So when you pick it up and you go to scroll down the face of it, you
Right.
hit the rubber band, you think, no, I don't want to do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm
'cause
thinking
it's a
those red-
physical trigger.
Yeah.
Those red lacquer bands from Australia Post.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep, 3
Really
across the street.
ugly.
It's very.
That's very smart because it is. You sort of reach for it.
Well, it's a physical impediment as
Yeah.
opposed to a mental.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, trying to get some time back recently, I've had to, I've resolved I'm not looking at my phone on public transport. I spend a fair amount of time on public transport and it's reading a book only. Like
Okay.
that's if I either look out the window and see the tunnels go by as I go under train tunnels or I'm reading a book. And as a result, I'm reading a lot more.
That would be Kate's time investment, the book.
It is, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
the idea about investing
or
it differently.
learn a
yeah.
language or
Yeah.
meditate or see. It's interesting. When I work with my clients, I do a lot of events and public speaking about time and time management. And one of the things I talk to people about is, who in the audience is a first responder. who here is a police officer, fire officer, surgeon, paramedic? And, no one puts their hands up because they're all corporate events. And I say, okay, well, who here checks their phone within 10 minutes of waking up? And every hand goes up. I say, and yet you're not a first responder. What are you actually checking it for? And even if you had this fantastic plan last night for everything you're going to do tomorrow morning, and you know exactly the tasks you're going to do, and you've got it all locked into your calendar and everything's raring to go, you check your phone within 10 minutes of waking up, you've lost control over your day within 10 minutes of your day starting.
Ooh, that's good.
Everything on your phone is I want, I need, where is, can you? And you just lost control of the agenda within 10 minutes of waking up. So we need to wrestle control back from the devices.
Just if we could delve a little bit deeper here, Steph. So, Kate, what is good phone health or good phone hygiene on a daily basis?
So firstly, don't have the phone next to your bed. Do not use your phone as an alarm. People will always say, oh, yeah, but my phone's my alarm. Well, buy an alarm clock.
I bought one and I didn't use it.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right, or use the oven alarm.
Okay.
That baby's
good, 'cause you have
going to get you up.
It will.
Because it'll be in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's so good.
This is good. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
don't have the phone next to your bed. Don't have it as an alarm. Then other people will say to me, well, my children are overseas. Okay, that's fine. Check in for your 5-minute check to make sure that everyone's okay and everyone's alive. But then you put your phone away. So it's that discipline. Piggyback new habits onto existing good habits. So first thing in the morning, if you're getting up and you're reaching for the phone, rather than doing that, think to yourself, I have to do like 10 sit-ups, or when I get up, I love meditating, because that might be a habit you have, or I love eating my granola, or whatever it is that's a good habit. Then associate not using the phone with that good habit. So my new habit is the phone's in another room. I read the paper, a physical paper, or I read my book whilst I eat my granola, or whatever the good habit is. So if you can piggyback the new habit onto an existing good habit to break the bad habit.
Yeah, it's the breaking which is hard. It's the
And
breaking
look,
the habit.
what are you going to miss on your phone?
Nothing.
I mean, someone's at the gym and someone's had Eggs Benedict for breakfast, and here's a cute picture of my dog. I mean, who cares?
No
I
one.
always go to my emails, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And that's
doesn't
not
surprise
important.
me.
Well, then you've lost control of your day.
Show me as an email guy. Yeah, but I'm much worse. I'm looking at Instagram reels.
Yeah, I'm not on Instagram
Yeah.
or Facebook, so that's
Yeah,
good, easy
which
for
is
me.
because like Instagram reels are just dopamine factories, and nothing is good. And you can spend an hour watching it, and someone says, "What did you just see? Give me 5 things you watched," and you might actually struggle to say it. Whatever it's doing to the brain.
Or give
is
me
bad.
2 things you learned.
Nothing.
Give me 2 things that have improved your life or
None.
improved your day.
Yeah, no, I'm so in agreement with that. And again, if you do wrestle this time back, then you can invest it where it should be, which does bring us back to the life list, which I feel like I might have diverted us all from a little bit. I apologise for that. So can we talk a little bit about then how you do help people find what should be on their life list? What's on a life list that may not be on a bucket list, for example?
Yeah, okay. So I did a lot of research on this. Bucket lists often tend to involve travel and adventure.
Yes.
And also kind of crazy stuff that might actually hasten your death. Like, I want to swim with sharks or I want to jump out of a plane in a parachute.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah.
So a life list is firstly something that you're not putting off till later. It's for now. And it's definitely travel and adventure form a big part of it, but there are other buckets that you need to fill. So there's your legacy. What do you actually want to leave behind for your community or for your children or your next generation or your clients? So there's that kind of legacy piece. Then there's relationships. What relationships do you want to invest in? What relationships do you want to let go of? Finance is a big one. It's a wealth, I call it wealth in the book. So things like, making sure you've got your will sorted. Have you got medical power of attorney sorted? Have you sorted that for your parents as well? Because that often is a challenging conversation. A big one for me was after Dan and I separated, opening a bank account. I had completely abrogated my financial responsibility in my relationship. Not that there was ever a financial penalty to me, and he was incredibly open and fair and honest, and there was no issue about that. But I had abrogated my financial literacy to him, and it's something I'm red hot on now. and very much with my daughter and my sons. But I think that when you're in a relationship, in a long-term relationship, you often divide tasks based on strength and interest. And our finances, our mortgage, our properties, our share portfolio, our financial health, I had zero interest in it, and I kind of went along for the ride, and I signed the documents when I was told to. And what that meant was that after we separated, I had a big steep learning curve, not only in terms of personal finance, but I had a successful business. I had no idea what was going on in it. I didn't know how to read a P&L. I didn't know anything about accounting. And I remember going probably about 2 weeks after we'd separated, and I was doing a really big pitch to one of the big banks where I wanted to run a series of workshops for them for their women VIP clients. And I was up on this beautiful boardroom floor, and their offices are all glass. So their meeting rooms, it's all glass, completely open so you can see in. And I sat down with this woman I'd never met before. She was a senior executive in the private bank. And as you do when you very first meet someone, she said, "So lovely to meet you, Kate. How are you?" And I burst into tears.
Oh, really?
Because, Dan and I just separated.
Yeah.
No one had sort of really been saying, you hold it in and you hold it tight. And this poor woman, and she jumped up and she pressed a button so all the windows clouded over, and she grabbed me a drink and she got me tissues, and she's one of my best friends now.
Oh,
Okay.
how lovely.
But-
I did want to ask how.
I explained to her, well, this is what's happened. And I said, I just feel so stupid because I don't know how to open a bank account and blah, blah, blah. And she was amazing. And she took me under her wing, and I became a Westpac customer. But she set it all up. But then she gave me financial literacy lessons. Like, she taught me about the different bank accounts. And I look back now, and it sounds so pathetic when I talk about this that I didn't understand it all. I'm an intelligent woman, and yet I didn't have that quiver in my arsenal. I didn't have that string to my bow, and so it's a big one for me in the life list.
We have spoken to so many incredible, smart, powerhouse women on this podcast who have said exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
Like, we hear this a lot. Really smart women who are so in control of their lives and successful business people, same thing, because it's a division, really, of your strengths and labour. And it's like, well, look, I think that often is the case. Women are just less interested in it, and and it makes sense, I think, in a lot of ways.
It does.
But if there's a lesson that I've learned from this podcast, you've got to have an understanding of what's going on.
Financial literacy and financial education then builds to competence and confidence. And with confidence, people can achieve anything.
Yeah.
Like you said, highly intelligent people, it's just they haven't honed that skill or used that muscle.
Because probably as well, you talk about investment of time. They've just, decided to invest their time elsewhere.
Yeah, it's not like they're sitting on their bums doing nothing. It's just that they haven't honed that skill.
Yeah.
So, in terms of a bucket list item, that's big. It's a big difference with a life list, is to have that. Health is another bucket in the life list that you need to be focusing on. And also there's this whole, I guess, the book was originally sort of pitched at women in their midlife deliberately. A, because that's where I'm at, so I know it. But B, because there's generationally, we are the wealthiest, healthiest, most educated, young at heart generation of midlife women ever. Forbes calls us super consumers.
Okay.
We're buying for 3 generations, our children, ourselves, and our parents. We make most of the decisions in the family around important financial investments like holidays, cars, and so forth. So you've got this big generation of women who potentially have been very successful in their business or successful career women. They're at the peak of their intellectual capacity, and they've got money to spend. Now, I'm not saying everybody does, but I'm saying there is a big pool of women out there who do. And so it's around making decisions with your life list that are impactful. So it's the legacy thing, it's the philanthropy, it's the the community. It's not just – and they're things you wouldn't necessarily always see on a bucket list.
Yeah.
Well, what also strikes me, Kate, a lot of responsibility too across those. When you hear the sandwich generation, come up more and more, and a lot of responsibility for making decisions across 3 generations.
Absolutely, because even though if you have children, they're young adults, but they're still relying on you for advice and support. Last night, a classic example, after Dan passed away, he left money for the children, but he and I both agreed that it would be held in trust until they all turned 30. We want them to have a very traditional 20s. Mm-hmm. We want them to work hard for their money, and we don't want them to be trust fund kids. So we made that decision very deliberately. So once every sort of 6 months or so, the kids will meet with the family office and have explained to them, well, this is where your shares are and this is what it means. And I'm really big on them getting an education in terms of the share market and how it all works. But they want me at that meeting. Now, they're in their early 20s. They could do that themselves, but you're still very heavily involved. And then you've got your parents at the other end wanting you to be involved in the decisions they're making. So there is a big responsibility. There's also a big time investment in those things.
One of the things that you talk about is doing things that you want to do while there is still time. Like, what do you mean by there still being time?
One of the things that Dan said to me just before he died was he sort of talked in terms of the regrets that he had, that he hadn't prioritised the kids as much. When we separated, he said that he wasn't going to be, a Luna Park dad was his expression that he used, but he kind of went off and wasn't as engaged or involved with the kids. And he was really regretful of that. After he passed away and we met with the executors, they shared with us that he had said that he wanted me to take the kids on a holiday and we were to go anywhere in the world, but it was to be a celebration of him. And he was very regretful that he hadn't prioritised them and done that himself.
Yeah.
And so we went off and we had the holiday and we talked a lot about him, and it was Dad's holiday, but he missed it. So, sorry, I get emotional about it.
It's worth being emotional about. It's really sad.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by do it while you can.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone who reads the book or any of your listeners to have to face incredible loss or trauma to snap them out of malaise. I would love them to listen to this and read the book and think, I'm going to have a life list because there's things I can do right now. And it's that mindset change that you mentioned, Ryan. It's just about saying, well, these are the things that are most important to me that I want to focus on. Life's too short and we cannot afford to put stuff off till later because later could be too late.
Well, and to your point, I think we all fall into that trap. I'll get to it tomorrow, or when it's like this, then I'll do that. But when in future it is like this, there'll be something else you wait for. That's why I just want to emphasize it. If not now, then when?
That's it. There's never going to be a perfect time.
Yeah.
So just do it. And it doesn't have to be the radical, I'm going to quit my job and travel around the world as a gypsy kind of item.
Yeah.
It could be things like I'm just going to be more conscious of my phone and I'm going to turn it off and invest and be present when I'm with my kids. Or I'm going to, I prioritise seeing my dad. I try and see him, most days. He's in his 80s. He's not going to be here forever. So that's important to me. And it's just a mindset shift.
It's putting yourself more in charge of the decisions that you want to make.
I think that you used a good word. It's malaise. It's snapping out of the malaise because you can get to a point when you're just sort of ground down by the general rhythms of
malaise
life.
Can be comfortable.
But
doing things that are not just necessarily for yourself. I'm going to create the change. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to write an article that's got 50 commitments and publicise it to the world. Takes being brave.
Yeah, it's just doing it. It's just actually making a decision. I'm going to do it. And a lot of people will then say, well, how do I get past that compulsion or I guess the resistance? If I set myself the goal, how do I actually then turn up and do it?
Yes.
And this is one of the things I write about, which I have found very interesting, is oftentimes when we set ourselves a goal, and it might be, well, I want to buy a farm, or I want to change jobs, or I want to start jogging, or I want to, eat better, whatever it is, you have that moment of adrenaline and it feels fantastic and it's like, oh my God, this will be amazing. The very next thing that happens is your brain will tell you all the reasons why you can't. And I put those reasons, I call them resisting forces, but I put them into two buckets, fear and lack. Fear. What if I don't succeed? What if I fail? How will people judge me? How is it going to impact my brand? What if I succeed? What if people talk about me? All the fears that we have. What if I feel guilty? The other is lack. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the energy. I don't have the frameworks. I don't have the support. So we build up these big, long lists of things we fear and lack, and that just stops us going for the goal.
Yeah.
And so the next step you have to take is to work out what it is you value most in your life. So not what are your values, because that's a different question, and we all have values, honesty, integrity, whatever they are. The question I'm asking is a time-based question. It's a time investment question. What do I value most is where do I actually want to spend my time? And once you know what's most important to you and where you want to actually spend your time, those things will bulldoze the resistance and the lack and the fear every single time. For mine, there are three things in my life that I most value, that I prioritise over anything else: my kids, my business, and my health and well-being. So every time I want to go for one of these big goals that I've got on my list, so I've just recently bought a house in Sicily, and there's many resisting forces to those things. Yeah. But then I think, well, my kids will be able to come and stay with me, and we'll be able to live in Italy, for God's sakes. My business, well, I can write about it. I can write articles about it. I can talk about it. And my health and well-being, well, I'll be living in Italy. Yeah. So all of those things then overweigh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, what's going to happen to Dad, how do I get my visa, what are the exchange rates, are the exchange rate's going to kill me now, Trump's got tariffs. All of that fades when you actually understand what it is you value most, which comes back to time investment again. Yeah. It's all about where do I want to spend my time.
And what I'm hearing is a real authenticity of self, like just in terms of what's true to you, removing or, minimising what could go wrong and focusing on what could go right, because that's in real alignment with you.
Yeah.
And again, I see a lot of parallels to what we talk about a lot, about living the life that you want today, not putting it off.
Exactly.
That there are mechanisms. Like if you are someone who really hates a job and you've always wanted to do something else, maybe that means that you can't afford your mortgage and you have to downsize into a smaller house or something, which will help fund what you really want to be, which is an author or whatever. But it takes some brave jumps to do that.
Yeah, I imagine that, Kate, people even start finding reasons why they can't do it before they even get through a list of what they would actually want. It's almost they one or two down, and then they get that negative thought, and it crushes them when they haven't even got to the 8 to 10 or whatever their true north is.
That is so true. It's so true, because a lot of people will say to me, how do I even start my list? I don't even know what my goals are. How do I actually start? And so it's so true. We're so focused on what could go wrong that we lose sight of what could be right.
And is there a piece of, whether it's conscious or unconscious, Kate, about who am I to have the life that I really want? Oh. Who am I to be or whatever it is?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And that then there's a lot of guilt with that. Or what will my family think? Or people, what might be in a marriage or a partnership, or do I need to get permission from my partner? And how do I start prioritising myself? And there's a lot of, and then there's cultural overlay with that, where I have clients and people that I work with where culturally they shouldn't be investing in themselves or putting themselves first. So there's so much there in terms of resistance. But I guess the good thing about it is that we can work through that stuff. Yeah. And as I said earlier, it's not about the massive goals all the time. In the book I talk about 3 types of goals. The first is go big goals. The big, outrageous, buy a house in Italy, climb to the top of the mountain, plant 1 million trees. And you want to have at least one of those on the go that you're planning towards every year. Then there's go small goals, which are the fill your cup and keep momentum going whilst you're working on the big goal. So they're very separate to the big goal, but it might be, what am I going to do this month? So I might set myself the goals of, I want to walk 7,000 steps a day and I want to speak to 2 strangers every day. And you just set yourself little goals. You know, they don't have to be money-based acquisitions. I'm much more about experiences these days. And then the third type of goal is go now goals, which is the acts of spontaneity, where someone says, hey, do you want to? And you go, yeah. And I'm really bad. They're the ones I'm really bad at. I actually had to set in advance a month that I was going to say yes. And I appreciate the irony of planning a month where I was going to be spontaneous, but that was kind of the way it worked for me. Yeah.
So you've written this book, but you've also lived this life, obviously. Like you wrote an article about it, but I imagine you're a few years down now. So how has it changed, living your life to a life list and not a bucket list?
Oh, it's changed completely. I have this beautiful intersection of intention. I'm kind of living in a place where intention interacts or intersects with action. And I have momentum. So by living this way, I've moved out of just living my day by rote to being very intentional and constantly chasing down goals, and big and little. You know, as I said, and I've said so many times, I want to emphasize they don't all have to be the earth-shattering big ones. But I sat down and worked out exactly what sort of life I want to lead. You know, I decided I wanted to fall in love again. And so I was really intentional about it. And I wrote it in the book. I described exactly what this love was going to look like. And it kind of makes you go out and find it. I talk about Italy and wanting to live there. And I talk about, I want to learn to ride a motorbike. I want to, become a little bit less stiff. So I'm off to the physio after this, and she's going to give me a weights program. And it just gives you momentum. Yep. So I'm constantly moving forward. And it's made me so much happier.
I'm a huge advocate of lots of little goals and lots of different things on the fry, because I found in my own life, previously I put myself all into a job. And that meant that if the job ever went away, or maybe I stopped liking the job, everything got a bit heavy because that's where everything was. But I always have quite a few different hobbies and things on the go. So I write a newsletter. I do this. I've got another job. I review cars on the side. I have this whole other life where I'm actually really quite serious about art and drawing, and I would love to get very good at portraits and that sort of something I'd love to be able to paint a lot of credible portraits. And it just means that if at any given time and things do change, if something collapses, or, and also try to find a fulfilling relationship as well. But like if the relationship implodes, I've got the art. Yeah. If the art gets too tiresome, well, then I've still got the writing that I'm keeping up. And then at the backbone, there's jobs like this that are amazing. And then, but if something happens, there's always, and it just means that you kind of, it's a broad investment to speak into. Just put that in your terms.
It's a portfolio investment.
It's a portfolio, and it means that these constant small little things mean if any time the flame goes down on one, I've got another that I can pull up. And I feel like I've sort of, and people often, I think, consider that you're spreading yourself too thin. One big goal all the time, all your energy into it. But I think that that's a way to burn yourself out and have a bit of an existential crisis.
Well,
if it doesn't work out.
Full circle, and no pun intended, but we started with talking about time investment. So you get out what you put in and you get what you focus on.
Yeah, exactly. And when you find that you do have time, rather than then picking up your phone and doom scrolling, you might do a portrait. Yep. So I've one of my other things on my life list is I was really keen to learn how to surf, and my kids have always surfed, and I had years and years and years of driving them down the coast, down to, 13th Beach and down to Bells. And I was that, surf mama sitting in the car. And I thought, no, I'm going to learn. And so now I love it. So I'm living down the coast at the moment in Point Lonsdale. Yep. And every second I get, I check the surf report and I go out, and I'm just in the shallows with the grommies. It's, me and the 8-year-olds. But I love it so much. It's fantastic.
Look, thank you so much for your time. I got a lot out of this.
We could have kept on going.
I know we could go. I'd actually love to get you back and to really go deep onto time management, because I feel like there's another 8 episodes that we can do on that. investment. Thank you. You're paying attention. 10 marks, right?
I've made a lot of notes.
Yeah, I know, yeah. The script is marked up for once. Well, again, thank you, Kate. Appreciate your time. And if you're listening to this conversation and it's sparked something in you, don't wait. Life is just too precious to waste. And if you enjoyed this episode, do share it with a friend who might also like it. And follow Money in a Good Life wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Advice given in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to influence decisions about investing or financial products. Our listeners should always seek their own professional advice that considers their own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.